What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Acts of Creation. In this week's lesson, we kind of posed the question, can beginners be creative? Right? How soon can we start writing our own ideas? Right? How soon can we start kind of borrowing from our inspirations? So whether you are a beginner student and looking for inspiration in how to be creative, or whether you teach many students and beginner students and you want to kind of instill that creativity, these are ways that I like to go about it, right? Borrowing from our influences. So I ask everybody, how early do you be creative? Can beginners write songs? Can they be creative with the limited amount of material that they're able to play? So where is this coming from? Well, I have a student, been playing a couple months. This student's working on Endorse riff and Paranoid, right? And we know that Paranoid has these hammer-on slurs in them. And again, if you've only been playing for 2 months, the rhythm's a little disjointed, slurs, the volume's, right? A little uneven. So one thing that I stress, if you guys watch this channel, I'm always trying to learn music theory, music concepts, and be as creative as possible to help learn, right? I learn through being creative, and I implore my students to do the same as well, right? So I'm always looking for ways, okay, what are you struggling to play with? And then what can we kind of make up based on our riff, right? So a couple things. Student was doing the Paranoid riff, right? And the hammer-ons are a little difficult, so one simple thing to do is we can extend that rhythm. Just add 2 notes, right? Just for the practice the slurs, practice our picking, practice groups of 4, all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden it quickly moves on to, well, you can do that in different areas. Right? So that's kind of one aspect of where the inspiration come from this little example we're going to put together. Okay? And as I mentioned before, the other side of that is Metallica influence, right? What do we need to learn as beginning guitar players to play things like Metallica, right? We have to have, right? All right, E5, Metallica's favorite chord. We need to be able to palm mute correctly, right? We need to be able to palm mute correctly. We need to be able to downpick those power chords, right? Keep that driving rhythm forward. Big part of rock and roll, right? Being familiar with E minor, being familiar with pentatonic minor, okay? So we can kind of slosh around power chords and make up things like that that will help, say, the fill in Enter Sandman, or just to help sound like Metallica, right? So now let's kind of combine these ideas, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm always trying to influence my students to be creative, you know, borrow from their influences, what do they like the sound of, and incorporate it into their playing, right? So we can take a very simple slur exercise and some power chords down here, put it in a different key. Next thing you know, we're kind of working on things to help you play the Enter Sandman riff, to help you play Black Sabbath and all the other things, right? So what we did, we took this, and like I said, we brought it down here to where Metallica plays. All right, so we need to work on our power chords, our down picking, our palm muting, right? So one thing we can do, let's play a measure of 8th notes. Simple enough. We're working on palm muting, down picking, right? The concept of kind of creating an accent by lifting the palm mute, so we're opening that first hit up, and then a nice strong down pick after that. Let's interject our slur. Right? So now we have. Okay? And again, I'm always trying to teach songwriting concepts, right? And one of the things I always like to do is call and answer or call and response. Variation, right? We did this here. Let's do something different, but in the same vein. Let's play the half steps that are found in E minor on 2 and 3, and we'll go backwards. Why am I going backwards like that? Because it's just different from going forwards? Not really. You know, if you tell me your first guitar lesson, dude, I want to play Master of Puppets. Well, we all know that sliding backwards is a lot harder than sliding forwards, right? For whatever reason. It's just hard to keep the pressure down and get the notes clean. So this is doing that. Same idea, sliding backwards, right? So now, there's our variation. We can put that together. And there you go. There's your first made up rock riff, right? I love exploring ideas like this with my students because it automatically starts putting in the idea of songwriting, repeating ideas, creating variation, right? So now we can repeat that 2 times, 4 times, 8 times, whatever you need to do to practice. It gives you something else to practice besides just the Enter Sandman riff or just the Paranoid riff. With, you know, maybe after a couple days you get bored of it and you don't have the inspiration to keep trying, right? Who knows? But there are things we can do to develop that. We can take these single notes, turn them into power chords, right? So many beginner guitar players have an issue with the power chords, right? It's the next step. Single notes, power chords. Okay, if you can play power chords and chug your open string, you can play a lot of awesome tunes. So that's one thing we can do to that. Okay? Speaking of power chords, letting these notes ring out. Beginners have a hard time letting notes ring out properly in a good space of time. So to emulate Metallica, that's what we were kind of going with, and Black Sabbath, all the power chordy riffs, let's create a chorus type section, focusing on power chords that we know and that are from other riffs, right? So we can let that low string ring open. And then you're right back into it, right? So it's giving the student a way to come up with an extra part. Something that complements the first part, but is yet different at the same time. We're working on holding notes out. Simple rhythms, simple counting over time, right? We're just kind of developing that. So now let's quickly just put this whole thing together, and now all of a sudden, outside of just playing Enter Sandman or just playing Paranoid over and over and over again, we have this quasi made up song. And it's us being creative, and it's us working on things that need to be worked on. And there you go, right? Something really short and simple. It develops the things that we're working on, and it instills creativity, right? Can you bring that creativity out of yourself? Can you bring that creativity out in your young students or your early guitar players? I'm always encouraging people to find things, examine why they like something, right? Why do you like that chord? What part of it? Does it sound really good? For example, I love this chord. Love it. I found it really early on in my playing, but what do I like about it? Well, the top end of it sounds really stable. Very pretty, very open, right? This note, some sketchiness in it, sounds really good, right? And you also have this string dissonance, this open string, and this fretted note. I love that. I love that. So, can I incorporate that into my playing? Yeah, I can. You know, so I'm always looking for ways to kind of borrow, steal from our influences, and kind of make it your own. What do you like about it? What do you need help working on? Right? So I hope this helps everybody. Down in the description below, you can find a link for the tabs in this example, right? And as always, let me know what you come up with. So until then, I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.